kind of what the spoof is in the sanctuary, and that's how we're going to kind of play off Vacation Bible Camp. So as you think of decorating and fun things to bring in, anything Finian, anything yellow, anything banana-y is all probably really good if that's a word. So that would be kind of where we're heading in the direction. So I'm just going to go over and just spend a few minutes going over some big picture stuff about VBC, our themes, our verse, and just some other things that I think as a group we need to know about. And then afterwards we're going to break out, and if you have a red folder, you'll leave and go with Miss Amy in the back to kind of talk a little bit more about your age group. And then if you're a blue folder, you'll stay in here and we'll do a little bit more about talking with our pre-K and elementary kids. So that's where we're going. So I just want to, as we begin, once again, just tell you that I am so appreciative at what you guys are going to be doing and how you'll be investing in the kids of Vacation Bible Camp. And what you do matters, because I see it with my kids now. I have boys that are 7 who have been a part of Vacation Bible Camp for a couple of years. I have a little girl who's going to come to Vacation Bible Camp for the first time. And sure, they love the shaving cream war, and they love coming in to do the drama. But one of the things that really makes or breaks their experience is their classroom leaders, right? And they just, last year, one of the things I remember from their classroom time is I knew a couple of their leaders. And so just a couple weeks ago, I was helping them tidy up the room. And one of the things they had left from Vacation Bible Camp was a handwritten note from 2 of their leaders. I'm sure all their leaders signed it, but only 2 had survived. And this is almost a year. And it's from Mr. Jake in the back. He was one of the leaders. A little handwritten note to my kids was there. And from Mr. Bill. Both were in the hand. They had all written notes, but these had survived. They held on to these notes. I was cleaning up, and there were these papers there, just little notes saying, "Hey, you're an awesome dude. Had such fun with you at Vacation Bible Camp, and thanks for being there." And those guys were the ones that made the experience great for them. So what you do, it matters. It matters to these kids. They will long forget the theme. They will long forget the activity and stuff, but they will remember you all. No pressure. They will remember you. So I think back to what I remember from church. I remember a couple things we did, but I mostly remember the people. I remember the people that spent time hanging out with me, talking to me, spending the week with me in the classroom time. So as you go through the week, and as it gets to be Wednesday or Thursday and you're tired and like, what did I sign up for? Just remember that what you're doing is making a difference. It's building a foundation of faith for these kids that's going to last, and they'll remember you. And so thank you. So here's what I want to do. I want to start out with going over our daily themes and verse. Kind of give you a big picture of where we're trying to go spiritually with Vacation Bible Camp. So if you have this, you can pull this out right now. Otherwise, we'll put it on the screen too. We'll start out with the verse. So the whole point of this week is helping our kids grow deeper in their faith and becoming a deeply committed disciple of Jesus, to be closer to Christ and being a follower of Him. And so we're going to explain what that means, and then we're going to give them some ways that they can be disciples of Jesus. So you can see our theme verse is from Matthew 4:19. "Come follow me," Jesus said, "and I'll show you how to fish for people." And that will be a verse they'll learn. Miss Terry, when she'll be up doing scripture with them in the sanctuary, will also be working with them that verse. That's hopefully a verse they'll commit to memory and know, and be able to take that with them, plus a few other verses. So I'm just going to walk through the 5 days. We just kind of get the big picture of what we're trying to do. So day 1 is Jesus calls Peter. All right, Jesus calls Peter when Peter's out by the seaside. He says, "Come, follow me." And you're not going to fish for fish anymore. You're going to fish for people. And so the point of that is that Jesus isn't just calling Peter. Jesus is also calling us. And so we'll think about the ways that Jesus calls us, because Jesus isn't going to walk up to us on the beach and tell us to come follow Him. He's going to call us in different ways. So we're going to kind of explore that. Then day 2, we're going to talk a little bit about Mary and Martha. And the point of that is that disciples spend time with Jesus, or spend time with God. And if you know the story of Mary and Martha at all, you will soon, but Jesus came to their house, and He was teaching and hanging out, and Mary and Martha, one was busy getting lunch and busy not listening to Jesus at all, and one was sitting at Jesus' feet paying attention and spending time with Jesus. And Jesus said, the one Mary that you're sitting next to me and listening, you've chosen the right thing. So we're going to encourage the kids to work on spending some time with Jesus, and maybe spending some quiet time. And some of the lessons we've worked in, actually a few minutes of some quiet, reflective time. We're going to try this for the first time in Vacation Bible Camp, to spend some time just either journaling or praying or doing some interactive things quietly as they spend time with Jesus, and trying to say that, hey, that's what disciples do. They spend time with Jesus, and how can we do that? Day 3 is feeding of the 5,000, and we're going to look at it as a totally different way. We're talking about how disciples obey. Because if you remember, there's like 5,000 people there, plus women and children, and Jesus tells the disciples, hey, go get them something to eat, all right? And there's no restaurants, they didn't have any cash, And the Bible doesn't really say the disciples questioned it. The disciples started to do it. They tried to figure that out. They obeyed no matter how crazy that seemed. And so they brought back some bread and fish, and of course Jesus multiplied that. So we're going to talk about how we can obey Jesus and how that's what disciples do in small things and in big things. Day 4 is the Great Commission. And we're going to talk about how disciples have a mission. So we'll focus on when Jesus was giving the disciples their final orders before he ascended into heaven. And so we'll talk about how we also have a mission as well. And our verse for there is, therefore go and make disciples of all nations. So that's a pretty popular verse. Then day 5 is, we're doing something a little bit different. We're not adding anything new on Friday. Instead of Friday is a review day. So we're going to go back and kind of review what they've talked about that week. And then plus with all the different activities going on, we found it was just tough to try and teach them anything new, especially if you wanted it to be like the best day of the spiritual growth component, right? No one was paying attention because they saw ice cream in the narthex. So like, whoa! So we will do that big thing on day 4, like being called on a mission. That's the big push for them. Like, hey, we have something that we need to be doing. So Friday will be kind of a review day, and you'll see how that works out in your curriculum, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. So that is kind of the themes and the verse. So I just want to quickly highlight some of the highlights of VBC. So first, this year for the elementary, there is no major craft happening. There is no like big craft that you spend 2 or 3 days on. Instead, there's going to be a science station, and that science station, I believe, is going to take place in here. And I believe I know we have a leader, Mr. Bill is going to be leading that, and there is going to be some science and just kind of how you can learn about the lesson of the day, how you can learn about God through science. They're going to have a chance to work around tables and do some science experiments together. So we think that's going to be a really kind of cool new thing that we're going to do. They'll still have little crafts, little projects they'll do in their classroom, just small things, but no big, elaborate thing that takes multiple days to finish. But I mean, kids love science, and you can learn a lot about God through science. So that's really something cool we're excited about. Our mission project is Zoe is our mission partner, our international one. And if you were in worship back in March, right before spring break, Pastor Adam preached from Africa, and he was there with Zoe, and Zoe does some amazing cool things. We're putting together a video, and we're so excited to be sponsoring them. So that's where our international stuff will going. When we're going to be collecting used sports equipment that we're going to go locally to, I believe, our downtown schools, right, Debbie? And then anything left would go to Kicks for Christ, which is international. So that's where we're going. So that's what they're going to be collecting, and so that will be great. For the mission, everyone will be getting, all kids will be getting something like, this is one of the smaller crafts. They'll be getting one of these to collect their offering in at home and to bring it, kind of reminders. They'll get to decorate it, make it minion-like, make it yellow, I don't know, whatever they want to do. And they'll take it home, find some change, bring it back, and then they'll empty it into the classroom container, which you guys will then bring to the sanctuary or to your treehouse park time, whatever your large group time is. So everyone gets this. So that's one of the smaller crafts that everyone will get to be doing. And then the other thing we're excited about, and we're hoping it works out great, but I think it will, we're going to have live music in the sanctuary this year, performed by our youth band. And this youth band plays in Kids Corps and Bible Theater. We have 3 or 4 different bands, and we've kind of like compiled one band out of them. And so they've been practicing, they've been rehearsing, and so some of the songs will be familiar to the kids if they've come to church at all, some won't, but we're pretty excited about that. We're actually doing a rehearsal in the sanctuary for the first time next week, so they've been working hard, getting that stuff ready. So we think that'll be kind of a cool thing. We have some really talented youth that both instrumentally and vocally, and just want to really engage the kids with that. So that is something cool. So we'll see how it goes in the sanctuary. It's something we've never done before, and we're going to give that a shot. So there won't be like a Go Fish CD or anything like that. Instead, it will be just some popular worship songs that you probably all recognize, and the kids will recognize too. Some are done by our Res Life band, and written by Corey Ryan. So that is another cool thing we're going to give a shot to. And then Friday is review day. I already kind of mentioned that, so there's no lesson on Friday. That's more of a review time. Then finally, just a couple of miscellaneous things. First is setup day is on Sunday, June 7th, from 1 to 4. That's where you'll get your shirts, and then is your chance to decorate your room, get it all set up, and meet with your team. Hopefully you met prior to that, but this is a chance to get some work done, be ready to go for Monday afternoon. Gail and the crew will be down in that welcome center, the children's welcome center. You can check in for if you have name tag problems on the weekend or new people are coming to check in. They'll be down there. You can meet with them, and they will get you all the information. So a bunch of us will be hanging around, so that'll be your big day to get into the classrooms. This year also, one final thing we just want to let you know about is reminder stickers. instead of like sending home pieces of paper with the kids, it's like, hey, don't forget to bring your offering. Hey, don't forget to do this. We're gonna put it on like a little sticker, and they're gonna put it on your shirt or whatever, and they're gonna wear it home. So that'll be one way to remind them, hey, don't forget shaving cream wars tomorrow. Hey, don't forget, bring your offering for Zoe, or whatever it might be. Hey, don't forget your verse. So those will be pre-made, and so you'll get those. I'm not sure if it'll be every day, but it'll probably be pretty close. So those are kind of, so you don't have to worry about handouts or any of those papers, and we'll communicate also via email as well. So that's that, and we'll take questions later on about this if you have any questions as we go. So, tips, 7 things that I think will create a great VBC experience. This is not research, this is not something as fact, so you can take notes and then let me know if this really works and just helps your Vacation Bible Camp experience, right? So, but I think if you follow some of these, and I think your VBC experience will be great for you as leaders and also great for your kids as well. So I'll put these up on the screen. Actually, Mike will put these up on the screen. So here are just some of my top 3 here. First key to a successful Vacation Bible Camp experience is to establish guidelines. One of the first things you want to do with your kids, no matter if they're, I would say, or if they are in 4th grade or 5th grade, is to establish what your guidelines are for the classroom. Like, set down some rules. And in your curriculum, there should be some ideas of what that could be. So like, I know in the elementary you have like, pay attention, right? Or participate, take part in everything. Be respectful, have fun. And if you want to use those, you can. If you want to add more to those, that's great. I won't add too many more because that'll get confusing. But just to let them know what those expectations are. Because a lot of times you have problems with the kids throughout the week, but they have no idea what the rules are, and they just never went off, and they have no idea what you're expecting from them. So you want to make sure they know what you're expecting, and then let them know what happens if they don't follow those. Then you can come back and say, hey, you were being very nice. Remember, one of our rules is to be respectful, and we need to talk nicely to others. So that's one I would suggest highly, is to make some rules. Maybe go over those with your leaders. Here's the 4 rules we're going to do, and let's go over them every day, Monday through Friday, real quick, so that they know what the expectations are. 2 is connect. When I say connect, I mean connect with your kids outside of the time that you're teaching. So if you're in your classroom and they're just having free play for your kids, or if you're doing a craft, or a little art activity, there's no like formal teaching, still spend time hanging out with them, getting to know them in the sanctuary time, engage with them. If you are a youth, all you youth, this is huge, all right? Because they think you are, no offense adults, but since I'm one of them, I can say that. They think you guys are way cooler than us, okay? And they love you. I can tell you, my kids when they come, they just love Mr. Jake back there. They loved hanging out with him. Sorry, Jake, but you were their leader last summer, okay? And so, youth, that's a great time for you guys to connect with the kids, show interest and engage in them, and then they're gonna love that. And then if there is a problem, like where a kid's misbehaving, if you already have a relationship built with them throughout the week, there's gonna be a chance that they're gonna respond better. So I try, if there's a kid that I'm having trouble with on Sundays, I try to get to know them a little bit. So then I have a little bit of a relationship. So when I ask them to do something, they trust me a little bit more, and they'll understand what's going on. So I know that's a lot of effort because it's every day for 3 hours, and sometimes you gotta be off for a couple of minutes. That's fine, but just look for opportunities where you can engage, youth especially. So, all right, number 3, don't stress. If things don't go as you planned, don't worry about it. Don't stress, all right? Sometimes things don't go as I planned, and you had this great picture of how things were gonna work, and it doesn't come to fruition. That's okay. Just, do the best you can and follow the curriculum. But sometimes if you're working with kids, who knows what's going to happen? So don't stress about that. You're like, oh, and if you don't get to one of the activities in the curriculum, it's okay. It's totally all right. Don't feel you have to complete the curriculum for it to be a good day. For it to be a good day in VBC, you don't have to complete the curriculum. If you can, that's great, but that's not what you have to do. So that was my first 3. Number 4 is pray. I would highly encourage you to start praying for even though you don't know the names of your kids, to start praying for them now. Pray for the kids that you're going to be working with, and just pray for a great week that God will be there. When I pray for things that are taking place on Sunday, I first pray for safety and protection from check-in to check-out, that there's just safety through all that, because there's so many moving parts and people checking in and out, just to pray for safety. And then I pray for the leaders that are going to come and work, and then I pray for the kids, that they will experience the love of Christ and know a little bit more about what we're trying to teach them that day. And then, pray. If you only pick one of the 7, do this one. Number 5 is pace. Remember, you're pacing on your time with your kids, especially for that time in your classroom. Pace things out. Remember, a good rule of thumb is kids' attention span is usually as 1 minute for how old they are. So if you got a 2 or 3-year-old, they got 2 or 3 minutes, all right? If you've got A 10-year-old, you got maybe 10 minutes, an 8-year-old 8 minutes, right? And so keep things moving, right? Even if something's going great, don't keep going with it for 20 minutes, all right? Stop it so they want more. So it gets to the point where hey, I wish we could have done that more, instead of, man, that was fun, but then we just kept going on with it. Or if something's not working, you can feel free to tweak it or speed it up a little bit and move on to the next thing that would work better for your group, okay? So just remember pacing. Number 6 is roles. And that's just with your teaching team, to establish roles with your group. Who's gonna welcome the kids as they check in? Who's going to do the opening activity? Who's gonna be in charge of doing this? Who's gonna do that? And just assign that. And then youth, you guys, there's some things that when you look in there, say, hey, I could do that, let them know. Or if you're reading adults, you read the curriculum, say, oh, I think you could do that. And feel free to spread the wealth. That way there's not someone always teaching all the time. But unless they want to and everyone's comfortable helping. So just know your roles. It's tough to come in if you haven't talked about roles. Well, who's gonna do this? And the kids are checking in and we're not sure who's setting up the next activity. Who's getting the art stuff out and all that stuff. So I just encourage you to set up roles, know who's doing what. And you can change every day, but just to know who's doing what. And then finally, remember the crock pot. When you have a crock pot, I don't know, crock pot cooks slow, right? It takes time, but at the end it's delicious, all right? Whereas the microwave zaps it really fast. Sometimes I used to think Vacation Bible Camp, you send a kid in on Monday, and by Friday if they're paying attention, they're gonna be a solid disciple of Christ and following him and doing all kinds of great stuff. But that's not always the case. Sometimes this is just the beginning part of their journey of faith. That's why we use the word journey, because we believe we're on a spiritual journey. Kids are on a spiritual journey too, so don't freak out if they don't change drastically from Monday to Friday, but know you're just playing a part in this foundation. It takes time as they grow, both mentally and physically and spiritually. So you're just part of this process. And sometimes we never see the end result of what happens, but sometimes we're blessed to do that. But just know that you are making a difference. So remember the crock pot. And youth, if you don't know what that is, go home and find one. I bet you have one at your house. All right, so those are my seven tips. If they don't work, please let me know at the end of June. Just say, hey, Nick, that was horrible. That didn't work at all. We did rolls and that was terrible. So, I think that is all for now. We're gonna get ready to break out. A couple things I just want to talk about. First is just as far as preparing, what we need to do, what we all need to do to get ready for camp. And so just a couple of quick things as far as preparing. First is name tags. There are a couple of options. You all will be responsible for putting together name tags for your kids. Now, granted, I know you don't have your class roster yet, but that will come. And when that comes, you can put together name tags. There's a number of ways that you can do that. First, we can get you labels. You can just print them out on a label or write them on a label and stick them on them each day. You can do something like that. We were also given a gift from Perkins School of Theology. We have thousands of these. If you would like to use these and clip on a badge, something like this, if you'd like to do that, let Gail know, email her, and she will buy all these things. So all you have to do is clip it on, and then they can wear this badge all week if you think they could do that. If you have another creative idea to put together name tags, that is totally fine. If you want to make little minions or finions and have their name written on that, go for it. But these are a couple of options that you can do. Just make sure, because Gail would like to order these in time so that you have them by the 7th, or the day before camp at the latest. So just let us know if you want those. So those are one way to prepare as name tags. As far as what your classroom is going to look like, just some ratios. If you are most rooms are going to have 3 to 4 leaders. That will be it'll be 1 to 2 adults and 2 to 3 youth, or some sort of combination of that. And so pre-K and K, keep in mind everyone has about the same number of leaders. Pre-K and kindergarten will have about 20 kids in a room. First grade will have about 22. And second and third will have about 24 kids in your room. So those are the rough ratios. Now that could change a little bit. Your room might have a few more, might have a few less, depending on numbers. But that's what we're kind of ahead for with our ratios. And then when you think about your teams, I mentioned that we're not sure who's youth and who's adult, and I'll let Gail know that, so maybe she can email out that. And I think she can kind of plan accordingly who's youth and who's adult. But keep in mind, we have a lot of youth that are helping in VBC who also help in on the weekends, and they are really strong leaders. And we have some who lead and teach on Sundays in kids' court. And sorry about that. And they are able to lead. So when you talk to them, find out if some of them lead in kids' court, and they can take the lead and do different lessons and lead the teaching part. I would recommend, like, if you have 6th, 7th, or 8th grade youth leaders, or to have them kind of be more assistant role. They could be like the scorekeeper. There's some points where you need to use your cell phone. They can do that. They could lead, make sure you're getting the supplies out. Or if they're comfortable do some teaching, they can do that too. But some of your high school and upper high school youth could probably do some of the teaching too. But check with them to make sure. But just make sure to use the youth, because a lot of them are very eager, and just make sure you give them good guidelines for that. So that's real quick about youth. Also, you want to make sure when you prepare to make sure you connect with your teaching team. If your teaching team's not here tonight and you're the only one, don't worry, we will figure it out, John. Don't be nervous. We will be getting an email out to teaching teams to make sure they connect. If you're here and you feel like you could email a few people and you want to take the initiative to do that to get it started, that's totally fine. And we are going to keep an eye on as people pick up folders. And so if one of your teaching team members hasn't picked up their folder yet, we'll be in contact with them to make sure, hey, you're still working, right? Still being a part of VBC. So we'll do that. And then as far as preparing, if you can the first day or the second day to arrive a little bit early to be there to greet your kids. I know that's hard because you have your own kids, and sometimes you have to drop them off here and move over there. And we can help you figure that out. But that first day to go to greet the kids and be there, maybe you designate 2 people who can get there early from your team to be there to welcome them and just get the day off to a great start. And just for those first few days, especially to be there a little bit early, I'd say even 15 minutes early would be perfect. And the last thing as far as preparing is to read the curriculum before 12:31 on the day of the week. So I know sometimes it doesn't work and it's tough, but if you can, at the very minimum, be familiar with what's happening so you're not coming in figuring, all right, so what are we doing? At least know the concepts of what we're doing. Because if you can get through that first half hour before you go to sanctuary time, you could bring your curriculum in with you and look it over so you kind of have a plan a little bit. So that's worst case scenario. But please take a chance to take some time to read it over and just be familiar with what's going on. And Gail's done a lot of work on it. She's giving you actually mini versions of what some of the handouts are going to look like so you can kind of see that. So it's going to be very familiar, I hope. So those are just some tips as far as preparing. And then I need to talk real quick about being safe at Vacation Bible Camp. So you're going to get some policies and procedures in your notebook at camp, but they're also going to be emailed to you as well, as far as what we do as far as safe gatherings, as far as keeping our kids safe in all aspects. We want to make sure that you are the 2 adult rule or the leader rule, 2 leader rule is always in effect. So if you're the first person there in a room and kids start wanting to check in, you can't check anyone in until there's a 2nd adult there. So we want to make sure we're following that 2 adult, 2 leader rule. So if you're there and a youth's there, you can start checking in, right? It's got to be 2 non-related, so it can't be John and Alicia here, brother and sister, trying to check people in because they're related, so that wouldn't work. So we want to make sure we're always in the 2 adult rule. If you ever find yourself in a situation where everyone's taking off and you're alone with a child, I don't see how that could happen, but it could because there's people everywhere, but make sure that you're avoiding any situations where you might be in one-on-one with a child. That's protect you and protect the child, just protect everyone. There's people floating around everywhere. You need to grab a leader, say, hey, hold up the whole crowd so that so a kid and you aren't left in the classroom together. Just make sure we're being mindful of that. Bathroom duty, we want to make sure that there's someone who can escort your kids to the bathroom, especially if you're pre-K, K, first, probably second and probably third, because 3rd grade is going to be in the other building. So you want to, 3rd grade, when you're in the other building, you want to take note, there's some bathrooms we can't use, because those are going to be designated for congregational care and the pastors that are working there. And there's some that we will use that they can't use. So just keep tabs on it. There'll be signs on the doors so you know, and it'll be good to kind of keep tabs on your kids. So maybe you have someone walking down or standing out in the hallway with 3rd grade, just kind of keeping tabs on them. Same thing here, we'll need someone to walk them through, especially because it's so busy, just kind of keep tabs on your kids. So we want to make sure with that. You'll also have what's appropriate and inappropriate touch. And as we go through the week, kids are really going to connect with you, and that's what we want. We want you to connect with them. At the same time, we got to have there. So we want to make sure there are no piggyback rides, there's no kids sitting on your lap. There is, just appropriate contact. High fives are good. If a kid comes running up to you and wants to give you a hug, by all means give them a quick hug if they want, or sometimes I go, hey, give me a high five, or something like that. But don't, if the kid wants to, hang out with you, that's totally fine, we want that. But just to be careful, right? So don't invite them to sit on your lap, don't invite them to, give them a piggyback ride to the sanctuary. So just be really careful of that. And those will also, some ideas of appropriate and inappropriate touch will be in the book as well. So just kind of keep tabs on that. And there'll also be some discipline guidelines. I know there's some in your curriculum, but there's also some in your handout, just kind of what behavior you can be looking for, how to do positive reinforcement for good behavior and trying to lift that up to the kids. So that is that. Any questions?
We're going to move through the curriculum real quick.
Okay, so let's just go, I'm going to go through the details of the day and how your schedule will work. So in general, if you look at, you can actually start pulling out your curriculum. All your curriculum will kind of have, at the first page, will have kind of how your day is going. And doesn't quite have the details of the rotation, but you will get that in your notebook when camp begins. So your day begins with intro. The kids welcome the kids, you're checking them in. There's an activity that you can do with the kids that's fun, that's easy, that's something they can jump in when they get here, so if someone's running late, it's going to be okay. Then from roughly 1 to 2, you want to make sure you're on time for the sanctuary time. So, and sometimes it requires a lot of travel, so plan ahead. That's going to be a lot of, especially 3rd grade, and actually even pre-Kers take forever to get places, so never mind. They all take time to get there to the sanctuary, so plan about an hour to be in the sanctuary, might probably be a little bit less. And then from 2 to 3:30, you'll have a variety of rotations that you'll be doing. That will be when you do your science, you'll do your rec, you'll do your snacks, and you'll have your classroom time, which is the bulk of your small group experience, your teaching time, your activity time with the kids in the room, going over the lessons. And I will show you the notebook. This is the notebook that will have, this is one of the most valuable, besides your kids, the most valuable thing that you will have at VBC. You'll get one of these probably the day before. When you check in, it will have your class roster, it'll have your curriculum, it'll have all kinds of information for you. And we will, if there's something you need to know, we will add it to the notebook. So you want to have this with you. When you rotate, you want to keep this with you so you can know who your class roster is. So always keep this with you. You designate a leader to be in charge of it, so they always have it. So this will be, John's got it, he's already got it for his team. So you have your name on a blue kindergarten, and we can adjust. You have your different color, your group there, and so this is your very important piece of material. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of what's going to be happening in the curriculum. Some of the highlights just to show you real quick of what's going on. If you look in day 2, this is when we do Mary and Martha, and I kind of hinted at this, that there is a time where we're going to ask the kids to kind of do some quiet reflection, spending time with Jesus. And that will be challenging. I'll be teaching 4th and 5th grade in the Student Center, and we're going to be trying to do that with them too. And there's like a lot of them. So we're going to try that and see how it works. So it could blow up in our face, but we will try. So one of the things just to think about on day 2 is there are going to be some various stations that you're going to be setting up around your room so as the kids come in, they will have the opportunity to pick which station that would be most appealing to them. So they can do one, they can do all of them, they can sit quietly the whole time if they want, and that's totally fine. We've done it before in Bible theater that way, where they can sit quietly and not participate, but they're quiet and just focusing on God for a few minutes. So you'll have those different stations, and so it will be really important to give them some prep as to how that will work. So usually when I start, I'll walk through and just show them all the different stations, and then I'll give them, all right, here's the deal. You can do one of them, you can do all of them, you can pick what you want to do, but here's what you can't do. You can't talk, all right? You have to be quiet. If you have a question, you have to come to our leader. It has to be related to what we're doing, all right? This is our time to spend with Jesus, all right? We'll also have some music playing, so if you're not, feeling like this is something you want to do, just sit there and listen quietly to the music, and it will only take 10 minutes or so. But usually the kids respond. When we've done a Bible theater with big groups, that they've responded well to that. And once we've given them clear guidelines at the beginning, that they respond well and kind of enjoy doing that, especially they have the freedom to choose what 3 or 4 different stations they can do, and they spend some time at one, and then sometimes they move on into a whole bunch. So we'll just kind of look that over and kind of figure out how that would best work in your setting, in your classroom. And then after you do that, we'll give you some time to play, have some fun with them, some free time, because that's going to be a pretty intense time for them, and so they can have some free time. One of the games is 1, 2, 3 look, and it's a very simple game. So I'll show you real quick how you do it. You're around your table, so you're playing against the people around your table. When I say 1, 2, 3 look down, you're going to look down. Then when I say 1, 2, 3 look up, you're going to look up at someone at your table. All right. If they are looking at you and you are looking at them, you're both out. If you look at someone and they're not looking at you, then you're still in and you're safe, and your head will go back down. You cannot keep looking at the same person over and over again. You got to change, and you can't be clever and figure out a way. All right, everyone on the table, look to your left. Then everyone on the table, look to your right, because then no one will be out. So you can't do that either. All right. So here we go. Everyone, 1, 2, 3, look down. 1, 2, 3, look up. 1, 2, 3, look down. 1, 2, 3, look up. 1, 2, 3, look down. 1, 2, 3, look up. All right, so you gotta get the idea. And I played this with the kids on Sunday, and they asked to keep playing it again, so they enjoyed it. So it went on forever, and they really liked playing it. So that's kind of a game. There's those games mixed in, and so if you have youth leaders that love games, that'd be a great thing for them to lead. So that's that. Day 3 in your curriculum has an instant drama. I just want to quickly run through how that would work. We do them quite a bit at Zone on our Wednesday night program. So what an instant drama is you pick out kids to play certain roles. So for this one on the feeding of the 5,000, you're going to pick out a few kids. You're going to pick out one kid to be Jesus. You're going to invite them up to be Jesus. And you're like, all right, you're going to be Jesus. All right, and that's pretty much all you tell them. And you give them they will have one little costume. Then you need a boy with a lunch. Give the boy with a lunch. Then you need 3 disciples. And then everyone else is the crowd. All right, you say, all right, whenever I say Jesus does something, you do it. Whenever I say the boy does it, guess who does it? The boy. Whenever I say the crowd does it, the crowd does it, all right? And so everyone's ready, everyone gets in their spot, and that's pretty much all the instruction you give them. And then someone has the script, and they begin reading it. So I have the script, it's on page 5 of day 3. And so it goes something like this. It's like, one afternoon, Jesus was preaching and teaching many people. Watch as Jesus waves his arms up and down, and moves his mouth up and down. And so you want to pace yourself, make it nice and slow. The crowd thought Jesus was awesome. Watch as they give Jesus a big thumbs up. So the crowd will big thumbs up. Jesus kept preaching and teaching. Watch as Jesus waves his arms up and down and moves his mouth up and down. The crowd didn't want Jesus to stop. Listen as the crowd yells, "Don't stop, Jesus!" So Jesus kept preaching and teaching. Watch as Jesus moved his mouth up and down, and so on and so on. So the kids really enjoy these, so you get your volunteers, and just whoever reads this, it'll be good for them to know that beforehand, so they can have time to read through it and kind of get their pacing. And so if Jesus doesn't do what he's supposed to be doing, you say, Jesus, you're supposed to be doing that, or boy with lunch, where are you? Whatever that might look like, all right? So instant dramas are great, and they'll have a few props there. And if you want to add some more props and supplies to it, go ahead and do that, and it'll be a great time. That'll be the way we kind of reinforce the story for that day. So that's kind of the highlight of day 3. Day 4 is the mission project. We're going to do a little mission project in your room. It's going to be for Silverlink. That's our ministry to those that are in nursing homes, and they don't really have people that come and visit and care for them. So we're making placemats and cards for them, and this is their simple way of showing that, hey, you are also on a mission as well. You know, God has given us a mission to share his love, and so we're doing that to people who may not know that anyone even cares about them anymore, even knows who they are anymore. So that will get you all the supplies and some instructions on that. But Silverlink is really pumped to have, I don't know, thousands of these come towards them because they can use them. And then finally, on day 5, the review day, I'll give you one example of how we're going to do this. So what you're going to do, because we're going to talk about remembering and how good is your memory. And so we'll see how well they remember and their memory, and then kind of transition to let's remember what we talked about this week when we have the chance, all right? So here's what you'll do. One of the activities is there's going to be, you actually have the attachment at the back of page 5 too. It is a picture that you will show the kids, and we'll blow it up for you. It'll be bigger. It will look like this. And you're right, okay. You divide them into groups. You can send into groups of 2 or 3, or boys versus girls, or whatever you want to do, and just spend a couple. You can get 2 minutes or less to look at this. You're going to stare at this and try to remember as many things as you can, right? So you sit on your mark, get set, go. And there's no talking. You got to be quiet. You stare at it, and then after a couple minutes, you pull it down, and then you're going to let them list out as many things as they can remember. And you can do it one way where they can talk, and then you can do another way where they're partners and they can't talk. So they gotta kind of figure out which way would be easier. So that's kind of like testing their memory. So we'll kind of hit it at that way, and then we'll talk about, all right, so do you remember what we talked about on Monday about what it means to be a disciple, and going forth from that. So that is real quick, some of the highlights, some of the things that as I look through that maybe have questions about. If you have any questions about curriculum, I'll be hanging out here. You can also email Gail or me as well, and we can answer those questions for you. So I'm just going to pray for us as a group, and if there are any questions, I'll be hanging out here. If you want to meet as a group and talk a little bit, that's great. If you're like, yeah, I'm set, I'm ready to go, that's totally awesome too. So thank you once again for being here. It's going to be a great week. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait till it's June 8th or 9th. figure that out. So let's pray. Lord, thanks again for this time. And I thank you once again for all the time that these leaders have given up to be here tonight. I know there's a lot going on, and so I just appreciate the dedication that they've given to being here. I just pray that you'll bless them as they begin preparing and looking at curriculum and praying for their kids and talking to leaders, Lord, that you'll just make all those details come together, Lord. And I just pray for a great week of Vacation Bible Camp. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you all for being here. I'll be hanging out if you have any questions. If not, you are free to go.